Interesting. Joining me now, Dr. Jenn Mann, one of the most well-known psychotherapists in the country, best known as the host and therapist for VH1's long-standing hit show, Couples Therapy, and the author of The Relationship Fix. Dr. Mann, great to see you tonight. This column was fascinating, and I hear this from a lot of our young producers. What is the biggest issue with these dating apps? There's so many today.
Well, I think that these dating apps create a sense that people are disposable, that a lot of these apps really encourage people to make huge life decisions about who they want to partner up with based on very superficial things. And we all know that we've either had the experience or know someone who is married, happily married, that met their partner, initially wasn't super attracted to them, got to know them, fell in love with them, chemistry developed. And really, these apps just encourage us to objectify each other and dispose of each other based on how people look.
Now, what's interesting is, I think here, is that it could be that the tide might be turning away from kind of more impersonal apps and filters to, finding a dating pool that's a little bit more traditional. Watch.
Do you like using the apps?
Not at all.
Why? How come?
I just don't think they're conducive to good interactions with people.
You feel like they're mostly just for hookups?
I would say so, yeah.
I just don't really think I'd meet anyone on there that I'd actually date.
You feel like they're kind of for hooking up only?
Yeah. A lot of weird people on there.
A lot of weird people, Dr. Jenn. Well, for these young people who actually want to get married, have children, what's the answer today?
Look, I think of dating as a pie. Think of it as an apple pie. Each slice of that pie should be a different approach to dating. Maybe one might be matchmaking, one might be your church or synagogue or someplace where you attend some sort of services. Another might be meeting them through friends. Another might be asking people around you to actually play matchmaker, even if they're not an official matchmaker. So we really need to view these dating apps as a small opportunity. And yeah, sure, you can use them. They can be helpful. We all know plenty of people who met their match there, but to completely and only exclusively rely on, you're missing out on so many other opportunities.
Now, another issue, Dr. Mann, was revealed in this YouGov poll from a couple of years ago. It found that more and more Americans are rejecting monogamy, with 32% of adults saying their ideal relationship is non-monogamous. Now that number jumps to 43% among millennials. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this because of the dating apps, or is there something else going on here?
Well, I think that there is an emotional disconnect. And what I see with a lot of millennials is kind of a fear of getting emotionally close, getting emotionally vulnerable, fears of rejection. I don't think these apps help any, because you spend a lot of time on these dating apps getting rejected over and over and over again. And it kind of is part of that pathway to a relationship that I think people want to avoid.
I can tell you from my conversations with 20-somethings, what the young women say is that the men are total immature. I mean, they're immature and infantilized. A lot of it relating to COVID and the pandemic and the lockdowns, and that affected these men more than women. Really quickly, do you see any of that?
Well, look, I wrote a whole column in InStyle magazine about the man-child, and I don't think it's exclusive to young men in this country. I think that there are a lot of men out there who expect to be catered to in ways that are not healthy and not conducive to a mature, loving relationship.
Yeah,
so I think that everybody needs to be accountable to everybody, and that we have to mature and behave like adults in our relationship.
As my mother, Dr. Mann, we got to roll, but as my mother would say, everyone's just got to grow up, take responsibility. Dr. Mann, great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.